If I see that I can do small amounts on this person and get a big change, I say fantastic, and I tell them to maintain it as needed. I'm not someone who says come back every 6 months.
When you're assessing a patient for a lip treatment, what's your mental process that you go through in terms of what you're looking for, what product you're going to use, what limitations, at what point do you think this is a limitation and maybe surgical intervention is required? I guess a lot of people will be wondering, what is the Dr. Ben Talei approach to lip assessment and treatment?
Yeah, so I like to look at the whole mouth when I'm looking at somebody, meaning I'm looking at the philtrum, I'm looking at the upper vermilion, lower vermilion, and then the depressors. The depressors are very important in general because it's a dead giveaway as to somebody having like a skeletal issue. So if you see somebody's contracting and they start to have this depression and they have peau d'orange, the orange peel, I just immediately look at their teeth and how they close their mouth. And I start to see that there's a large part of the population who naturally either has teeth that are very prominent and their upper lip can't come down, so their lower lip is always working over time. And there's a large percentage of the LA population that had nasty ass big veneers. And so that's the first thing I look at.
That's the technical term.
And that's just, yeah. So that's very common. So there's dentists running around causing depressor hyperfunction and peau d'orange, the orange peel of the skin. And the dentists are causing this. Now, it's not the really tasteful ones. It's obviously just in plastic surgery, we have the non-tasteful ones. So that's what I look at first. And then I see, is this somebody where I have to treat the wrinkles in the SMAS? Are they hyperdynamic? What's going on there? That's the first thing I look at. If they are hyperdynamic, I say, is it a deflated SMAS? And I know because it looks dark, not from dissolver necessarily, just from life. Or is it somebody who's just has decent volume, but they're just hyperfunctioning, right? So if it's just hyperfunctioning, I just put a dot of Botox in there, a Dysport, maybe 2 units on each side maximum. If it looks like it's a deflated SMAS, and this is again in your like Irish population, then I'm gonna actually put a dot of filler in there. Now that's the important part where you can only use certain fillers. So there, that is where you can't use Juvederm. That's where you can't use Voluma. That's where you can't use Perlane or Restylane Lift. You can only use certain fillers up in the philtrum without causing a problem. And I'm talking about the SMAS injection, not the wrinkles necessarily. And it's really cool because when some people kiss, you just see they form these lines that just hold in on each other. If they had this much more volume in their SMAS, that goes away and it stops folding in. So sometimes I just put a dot of Restylane Kiss or Versa or whatever I want to use. And then I go down to the vermilion and I say, you know what, let me just add a little bit of volume in their body to bring it out. Let me put some in the depressors. Let me put some Botox. If I see that I can do small amounts on this person and get a big change, I say fantastic, and I tell them to maintain it as needed. I'm not someone who says come back every 6 months. I try to get patients to do maybe Botox every like 4 to 6 months because it definitely goes away. But filler, I say let it go to the point where it bothers you and then do it again. That way you're never worried about like dissolving somebody. You don't have to reset, you just slowly kind of re-add as needed. Not everybody dissolves it all out. Some people keep 50%, some people keep 90, some people keep 10, If it gets to the point where I can't make the change that I want on them, or that just I'm not seeing any teeth, that's where I'm just jumping to a lip lift. If you can't see teeth, you're not very sexy. Like you have to show teeth to be sexy and sensual. You have to show teeth to be young. And one of my dental friends, Kyle Stanley, even showed me, he goes, watch Disney movies. All the Disney movies, they figured this out. And for all the people they want to make look old and evil, you can't see their teeth. They just got a long philtrum. For the young, tiny babies and sexy, they're all showing teeth. And this is part of what makes people look old. And even Disney knows about this. So we should know about it. And for those patients, I look at it and see how comfortably they're closing their mouth and this and that. And some people I say, you know what, if you want bigger improvement, then we're going to send you to do a lip lift. Now in my practice, I don't have to recommend a lip lift. People come to me for it, which is great. I hate telling someone who came in for an injection that they need a surgery. It's not fun. You don't want to give them a complex. You don't want to, make them think they're not beautiful. So it's a dicey area. So it's really nice when they come to me already knowing about it, or they went to another injector and the injector said, hey, I've taken you as far as you're going to go. If you want to do something more, it's out of my hands for the next couple of years, because that filler you got is going to last a couple of years. If you want more than that, go to this guy. So it's kind of easy for me to jump into surgery because the people who come to me are already kind of ready for it.
Yeah. You mentioned briefly two products. You said Restylane Kiss and Versailles or something. Versa. So can you just,
Versa,
are those your two go-to products, or what else are you using primarily in your practice for lips?
I just use, I mainly use Restylane Kiss. Sometimes I use Versa. If I'm traveling, I use the Teoxane products. I've used Volbella, Volure, they're pretty nicely reactive in the lip. I like all those. I don't like the thicker ones in the lip, and I've moved away from some of the, we call them beaded, I call them beaded fillers, meaning the old kind of Restylane. Just because with the newer ones that kind of linear stranding or the Nasha technology or high cross technology, it goes in a little bit smoother without clumping, and so you don't have to massage it. The less you massage the lip, the less inflammatory the injection is, the less swelling they have, and the less chance you have of accidentally actually pushing it somewhere above. So I like to, try not to massage the lip so much. That's why I use those smoother ones. The downside to them in the other places of the face, like the under eye, would be that Restylane and classic Juvederm are so easy to dissolve. You just put in like a dotted dissolver, even super dilute dissolver, and it just goes. It just breaks apart because of the cross-linking. The hyaluronidase can penetrate. With the high cross and all those, the Nasha stuff, they tend to stick around a little bit longer in the other areas, and when you try to dissolve them, they're a little stubborn. But in the lip, it doesn't really matter so much. So.
Thanks so much for watching the video. If you want to listen to the whole podcast, go to your favorite podcast app and search for Inside Aesthetics.
If you like the videos we're putting out, please consider subscribing to our channel. Give us a like, smash the bell icon so that you get notified when we put out more content.
If you'd like to support us, our Patreon link is down below, and you can also follow us on Instagram on our personal accounts.